Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Writing Shotgun with Charlie for Armed Lifestyle Magazine. Today we have with us my very good friend, Derek LeBlanc from the S.A.F.E Foundation. What is happening, Derek?
Good to see you. Thank you for having me again.
Dude, it's always fun to hang out with you. And, one of the things I love about our little gigs that we have here, and I hate to say our little gigs, but one of the things I love is we don't see each other unless we're traveling around the country. So we see each other in Dallas and Chicago and in Florida and in Phoenix and in Vegas at the SHOT Show. So I always think it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and we've done some fun things over the years. We went to Lexington Concord when we were back there. Went to the Big Apple
Yes.
and Ground Zero, which was amazing on our journeys. And so I always treasure the time we get to spend together. And it's amazing how gun rights has brought so many of us together.
Oh, completely, completely. It really is it brings not I want to say the best out in people, but the gun owners are great people, and we are the
Mhm.
exact opposite that the media thinks that we are.
Absolutely.
So we're people that are more than willing to help out, whether it's doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it's even to have an interview like this, or to, when you ask for some input on, hey, I'm thinking about trying something new. What do you think about this? Any
Mhm.
ideas on this? I'm thinking of venturing into something a little bit different. Could you give me a hand? Could you
Mhm.
help? And it's always really cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's been a while since I've had you on a show, but
Mhm.
you've had a lot of stuff going on with KidSafe Foundation. KidSafe is like it's grown unbelievably. You've gotten involved in political stuff. You still keep everything going with the teaching the gun safe to kids at the Bass Pro Shops and the Cabela's all over the country. Uh,
Mhm.
You've been involved in legislation, so we've got so much stuff that we have to talk about. We mentioned being at SHOT Show recently. What did you have going on SHOT Show?
So SHOT Show was fun because, obviously we get to go there and, obviously, talk to our partners that we have in the industry, and we make plans for, 2024. We also, showcase things that we've done in the past together, and we try to meet new ones. And the whole goal is to kind of, grow our base and our outreach opportunities through funding, through sponsorships, so we can turn, 28,000 kids that we've reached into 1 million or 10 million. That's the goal. And obviously it's a very lofty goal, but without goals, we're just going to be sitting still, and I'm not okay with that. So
Yeah, motivational guys that I like to listen to says that uh, a boat with no rudders ends up going nowhere.
absolutely, I believe that.
Yeah, you've got to have the goals and the things that you want to work towards. So having
Mhm.
1 million kids, holy moly, man, that's pretty unbelievable. Uh,
Yeah.
who are some of the new sponsors you got this year?
So this year, obviously, Aero Precision is one of our main title sponsors. We're going to be adding Stag Arms, and we're also going to be adding Ballistic Advantage as well. Also, I had a really great meeting with Voltec, which they're another one of our title sponsors. And so we've got some big plans for this year where we're going to do some joint events across the country. So obviously in Washington, Wyoming, Florida, and hopefully Oklahoma. And so we'll be able to bring classes into different areas and help promote what we're doing, but also have the backing from some really great companies in the industry.
That's pretty incredible. The second one that you mentioned, not Arrow, not Stag. Who's the third one?
A ballistic advantage.
Stick Advantage. I haven't heard of them before. What do they do?
So they're actually a barrel manufacturer. They're based out of Florida, And so they make, very high end, barrels for AR-15s. They also make them for the Glock handguns, Sig Sauer as well. And so they're an aftermarket drop-in barrel that's typically threaded. If you can have a suppressor, if you live in a free state, you can have a threaded barrel on there. And so they make great products, and I'm really, really excited about, the new opportunities with them.
That's pretty cool, man. So do you
But
have,
yeah.
I know you took some, God, what was it? You took some Daisy Red Riders and converted them to have collapsible stocks, right?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
That is really cool. So do you have, how old are kids when do you have them shooting ARs, and what age do you start doing that?
So we do some teen stuff where I'm careful about the optics when it comes to ARs, just because of, some people don't like the imagery that's associated. But the way I look at it is the AR-15 is one of America's most popular rifle. There's 40 million in this country, and it's often demonized because of the way it's portrayed in the media. And that's the problem, where when we don't get to educate because of people's knee-jerk reaction, that's counterproductive to the safety of the children. So, and basically, when we're doing stuff like that with rifles, we're talking about, teenagers typically, and we're showing them, how the rifle functions, the safety features of the rifle, and how to properly shoulder it and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool, man. That's
Yeah,
cool.
but we do have some, like, I have a really nice custom Aero Precision M4E1 that I use in every kids firearm safety one class. So whenever I'm demoing an AR-15 to the families, I'm showing this rifle. I'm showing them, what the muzzle brake is, what the rail is, where the safety selector is, how I load it. I'm also in this situation is I'm dispelling any kind of myths that they're getting from either the media, or they're getting them from YouTube, or video games. And so, you'd be surprised how many kids at 6 years old that I meet that know a lot about the AR-15 because of Call of Duty. And so I bring them back to reality and say, okay, this is one round per press of the trigger. This is not a quote unquote assault rifle like some would like to say it is. This is an Armalite rifle.
Right.
And here's the history about it. This is the adjustable stock. It allows me to make it more comfortable to shoot for someone your size or my size or one of the mother's sizes. So it's giving the communities good relevant information that is based on facts, not fear.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And people don't have any issues with it, which is great.
So I typically, when it comes out of the case, I do see, and because I watch the crowd, because I want to be careful, because I don't want to, if I could tell somebody has a really, I'm in Oregon, so there's a good percentage of people that don't like that rifle. So I kind of look, and I don't want to put it in their face because I don't want to intimidate. I'm not trying to scare. What I'm trying to do is just educate. And so a lot of times they come in with this preconceived notion of this rifle, and then when I'm able to break it down in a way that I would speak to a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, now after the class, I have parents that come up to me like, I didn't know that. And so now I'm able to have this conversation about this rifle that, obviously I talk about the data as well. Is these rifles are used in less than 1% of all violent crime across the country. And so, it's bringing the reality of stuff that they're not familiar with because of either their preconceived notions or confirmation biases, that I'm able to kind of educate in a productive manner.
It's good. I've had classes before where Um, it's really sounds like the troglodytes, and I hate saying that, but it's a class where a woman doesn't want to be in the class by herself. She wants her husband to come with. Her husband's already got a license, knows a little bit about guns, but then afterwards they come up and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know this. I learned this. I didn't know that was legal. I didn't know it was okay for this. I didn't know anything about that." So that's always a nice feeling when people come to a class and learn something from it. Even if they've already gun owners and have a license and maybe they carry and they've gone shooting before and everything. So that's always a very good feeling.
Yeah, and I feel that one of our biggest challenge as a movement is conversion, right? So how do we convert those conversations that we have in the class? How do we turn those into votes that help protect our rights and our civil liberties? And so that's something that I'm really, really focused on, is making the message where it's going to be not received by just a real small fringe group. It's going to be more welcoming and encompassing of so many different parts of our society. And that's, because that's what we're painted as old white racist guys typically by anti-gun, you know, media. But our group is so, when it comes to gun owners, is so diverse. I mean, you have people across every spectrum, and so I don't think that's showcased enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, we have there's a ton of women gun owners. There's a uh, ton of people of color gun owners, Black American
Hmm.
guns. There's a ton of people that own guns, and
Hmm.
it's it's hard to not. I guess there's a weird fine line between taking these people and saying, look, everybody does this, and then taking them and saying, hey, listen, you know what? These are we're trying to take advantage of them or use them to our advantage to help get our message out. But when you go to the shooting range, when you go to a shot show, when you go to JRPC, you go to the NRA annual meetings, there's a ton of people there, all sorts of religions. There's men and women, all sorts of races and colors and everything. So
Hmm.
it's we definitely need to get that word out there, for sure, for sure.
Well, and it's normal. Like, the guns are normal, and they serve a purpose. We could use them for defensive, sporting, hunting, so there's all these different things. I mean, the majority of law-abiding gun owners are not using their guns in the commission of crimes. And so let's take that argument away, and let's talk about and focus on the ones where, I was on the range all weekend with families, and so these families are bonding on the range through rimfire rifles. So guns are normal. They're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter how many laws they come up with. They're not going to take them away from us. It's going to be physically and logically, logistically impossible. So let's coexist.
Mm.
And you like your mountain bikes, you like your hiking, you like your, parasailing. I like my firearms. Okay. So you can stick to what you do, and I'm going to stick to what I do. And we can live together in one, so.
Absolutely. And we often hear from the I hate saying again those folks, but the political the people I think that are open-minded about things only want people to they only want to be open-minded about the things that they like to do, right? Like
Mhm.
I was just talking with someone recently, and he's working on a book, and he wants to point out that the people that say that um, they like going out to the woods and taking the dog for a walk. They like to go hiking. These are not the same people that get licenses to go hiking, or they don't put any money into the conservation of all the things that they enjoy. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's where we do, like, our PR campaign's pretty bad, because they don't realize how much sportsmen and people that buy guns, when they buy ammo, when they buy a firearm, when they buy hunting tags, all of there's a great percentage of that goes into conservation, which helps improve habitat for these people to enjoy the hiking trails or the mountain biking trails. You know what I mean? So I think that we should do a little bit better. It's the Pittman Roberts Act that, I think, from the 40s, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was around then.
Yeah, but anyways, but I mean, we're talking billions of dollars every year that comes out of us buying a firearm, or a box of ammunition, or a hunting license, that
Right.
goes to help protect the environment.
It's people that go fishing and they buy outdoor gear, whether it's
Hmm.
stuff and lures and fishing rods and boats to buying guns and targets and everything else like that we're into.
Yeah,
So something else that you've been doing recently is getting involved in writing some legislation and becoming a little more politically active, right?
I have.
Yeah, tell us about that. Like, so um you were writing some legislation. You've been writing legislation to get your the Kid Safe program into schools in Oregon, right? And
Hmm. Hmm.
that's where everything kind of started, correct?
Yeah, so that was back in 2019. Actually, it was actually the end of 2018. I was approached by a local politician about, using my expertise to write a piece of legislation that he would get introduced in Oregon. And so I kind of thought about it for a little bit, and then one day I just had my heart was pulling at me, as I have to, because I've been kind of discounting and waiting, just figuring out what I wanted to say. And so a couple of weeks had gone by, and it was just this Sunday like, I got to write this piece of legislation. And so I sat down on my iPad in a coffee shop for about 4 hours, and I put pen to paper on my iPad, and I wrote a draft piece of legislation that I was able to submit to him. As soon as I submitted to him, I went and did an event with the kids that Sunday night, and then right as I was getting, that was when you were I was dressed up as the bunny, and you were playing the this oh when we were doing that Christmas video. It was that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it was that day, and right as I was getting ready to put on my bunny suit, I got a message from a parent, and there was a child that died literally 20 minutes from my home. So it was really divine intervention that I was pulled to write this piece of legislation, and then I submitted it. It was a hit. It was only one page. It was really easy to implement, and there wasn't a lot of cost to the state of Oregon. And so then I put on a suit and tie, and then I started, playing politician. And so then I went up there, and it was submitted, and I started, meeting with, I got bipartisan support. I had, six co-sponsors and chief sponsors of this bill, and we got a public hearing that year, so I was able to actually make national news when it comes to gun safety education in the public schools for first graders in the state of Oregon. And unfortunately, we ran out of time and it died in committee. But we're gonna try again next year with a longer session. But now I'm starting to work with states in the state of Oklahoma, Missouri, Hawaii, Washington, and so I'm trying to basically get this bill into those states. And I've had some success. And obviously, it takes work and lots of meetings and lots of kind of that's where my trip to Oklahoma is going to be really, really important because they have a bill this year that's active. And so, but with that, with the good comes the bad. There's been a lot of anti-good or bad anti-gun legislation that I've been kind of trying to help educate the public as well. Because now that I've been in the machine, I know how the machine works when it comes to politics. And so now it's how do I get my gun owners off the bench and get them in the game where we can stop this stuff. Or if we're in support of it, we can get it into where it's passed into law. So
It would, I obviously we always hate dog and gun owners, but if we could get them off the bench to do something, then we can have some incredible things happening. You know what I mean? Um,
absolutely.
Getting people involved is the hardest thing because everyone always thinks that someone else is going to take care of it. Well, I sent in my $35 membership dues. I'm all set. I haven't written to politicians. I haven't been to a rally. I haven't been to, the pro gun group is having a banquet or a dinner. I haven't been to that. And that's the stuff that these folks need to use. I try to go to these things, not just in my state, but I've gone to some things for the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. I've got
Mhm.
done some stuff down in New Jersey with the folks down there, um, as well as everything else. So you've got to support all these people, and people need to get out and get a little more active because I was just talking with somebody down in Pennsylvania, and they said they tried to have a rally and I don't know, recently, and 100 people came, and they're like, all right, Pennsylvania's a lot bigger state than 100 people.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part is we just don't get involved. We look at those 27 words in the Second Amendment, and they think that that's going to be our savior and our coverage, to keep these rights that we hold so dear. But what they don't realize is the maintenance that's involved with preserving our civil liberties, and the maintenance is doing the work. It's more than paying $35. It's the maintenance is holding the line that we have currently and maybe taking back some ground, but making sure that we're not going backwards. And there's a lot of states, your states in example, where they're not happy with what's happening and they're going to continue to further restrict. And so until we all understand that the end game is civilian disarmament, we're never ever going to make the wins that we need to make.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, in Massachusetts, we had this bill. It was a Bruin response bill, and it was everything. It was live fire training, a written exam, de-escalation classes, active shooter classes as well, and then extensive background checks, and then you weren't going to be able to carry anywhere. And now the bill that the Senate proposed is not all of that, but it still is not great. Um, and if you compared it to the first bill, it's I'm gonna use air quotes. It's better. It's not as bad, but it still stinks. And people are like, well, let's take the one that stinks less.
Yeah, and you know, for me, my perspective is this is a generational fight for me. And I feel that, you know, that's why the work that I'm doing with the children is so important, is because if we don't involve and engage the next generation, we're literally a generation away from, you know, losing our 2A rights.
Yeah.
And we're talking an involvement engagement. Involvement engagement doesn't come from a book. Involvement engagement comes from hands-on learning in either a classroom type setting or getting the life experience on the range through real training. That's what's going to make a difference going forward into the future.
Mm. We only got a few minutes left. How do people you've never had experience writing legislation until you wrote legislation, right? Like you didn't know how to play the game until you learned how to play the game. How do
Mhm.
people get involved in learning how to play the game other than jumping in, you know, like if somebody said, "Hey, you got to write some legislation," I wouldn't be like, you know, I want to put out an act. I noticed all the bills in Massachusetts, an act to something something something. And I'm like, that seems ridiculous. But there's a process to all of this, right?
Absolutely. My biggest example that I would give to people is that's what I love about the 2A is we are subject matter experts, right? So we have people that are experts on muzzle loaders. We have defensive experts. Me, I'm a child safety expert. And so find your expertise, what your strong suit is, you know, find a piece of legislation in your state that you don't agree with or can be changed, and then insert your expertise into writing something that would either take that out or add to the benefit of the state by having legislation that is workable. And that's the benefit of gun owners, because we're all subject matter experts, is it's going to be a short bill. It's not going to be 800 pages. It's going to be 1 to 5. It's going to be easy to implement because we know what it's like to go through and carry a gun and have a gun in our lives. And so that's what makes, and we have to go on the offensive, right? So when we go on the offensive, when we start writing legislation,
Mhm.
that's how we change this stuff. That's how we get them, the other side that wants to, they love, because they got all this money. They have millions and billions of dollars. And it's what's associated with the gun control movement. But they don't know how to play defensive. They are offensive. And so if we can change this narrative and go on the offensive and start writing our own legislation, then we put them on their heels, and then they have to spend money on defense. And I think one thing that came from my state is I got zero pushback the first time because they did not know what to do. I
Mm.
mean, I had I had people that were being interviewed up in Portland, Oregon,
Yep,
that you could tell that they would not be friendly to guns, but they realized the importance of safety. And so that's where I was able to make tremendous ground. I didn't get any pushback because of the way I was able to present the information. So that's a win for me.
for sure, for sure. All right, listen, we need to wrap things up. How can people find all the stuff that you're up to at the Kid Safe Foundation?
Okay, so you can find us on our website, kidssafefoundation.org. There's two S's there. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can get involved. If you would like to see us come to your state, you know, send me an email. And you know, I look forward to traveling in the future with you and doing some more fun stuff together. And I appreciate the opportunity. And so when I leave you with this, our mantra is zero firearm accidents is the only acceptable goal. Until we get to zero, we're going to continue to work. And so I'm thankful for the opportunity today.
Well, that's an incredible goal that you have, and I appreciate all that you do. And I look forward to talking to you soon, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great day.